friends for no money, literally with no money, shooting it. It's about a group of young guys in Los Angeles, where I was living, going out into clubs and bars and trying to find love. And we didn't follow any of the correct protocol for how you shoot a movie in any way, because we didn't have any money to follow any of the correct protocol. And in fact, occasionally, because we're shooting in bars and things like that are open to the public, and I'm in my 20s, so my friends are going to bars, so occasionally we'd run into people we know, and I could just see the way they were looking at me, like this sort of pity, that like, oh my God, Doug thinks he's making a movie, he's lost his mind. Because I had this camera on my shoulder that was not suitable for shooting dialogue. It's what's called an MOS camera. It's meant for shooting silent movies. You can't shoot dialogue with it because it's loud. It sounds like a sewing machine. And so you would hear a sewing machine through the entire movie. If you tried to shoot a movie with this camera, but it's the only camera we had. And so I would take the camera and I would wrap it inside with I had a ski jacket, like a down ski jacket, and I would put that down ski jacket over it, and that wasn't quite enough, so I would bring my bedspread from home every morning to the set, and it was a white bedspread, and I would wrap that around the down jacket until eventually I had this big poofy white thing on my shoulder that Jon Favreau, who's one of the actors in the film and now a director in his own right, who did Iron Man, both Iron Mans, described it as acting to a giant white snowball. And so you can imagine, when people would see me filming with this big poofy snowball on my shoulder and my actors acting in front of this thing, that doesn't look like what a movie set looks like. And I'd had this concept that, it doesn't matter what it looks like while you're doing it. What matters is what the end result is. And I said, too many people, I looked around at other young filmmakers, and too many of them were trying to make their movie sets look like a professional movie set, but they didn't have any of the money or the resources to actually make a proper movie under those conditions. So if anybody came and visited the set, maybe they could impress them, but the end result, the movie, didn't impress anybody. And I saw that consistently with people I met in LA in their 20s trying to make their first films. And so I said, I'm going to do it the opposite way. I want to have a set that, if anyone visits, will be totally embarrassing, but the end result will be something we'll be proud of, which is a great concept until you're shooting in a bar and suddenly you realize you know a few people there, and they're all looking at you like you've lost your mind, and you have to somehow sort of keep your confidence and keep going. Also because, it is not an easy business. My sound guy, who was the only person in the crew who had actually ever worked on a movie before, would remind us, on almost a daily basis that nobody was ever going to see our movie. He would say it in a nice way. He'd say, this is, it's a cute movie. I think you're doing a good job, but let's face it, nobody's ever going to see this. So that was like as good a compliment as we would get during the production. And in fact, we finished the movie, and we entered it in our first film festival, and it was the festival most likely to take a movie like Swingers. There's something called the Sundance Film Festival. We really had made this film for the Sundance Film Festival. It was the subject matter, the age of the cast, the sort of concept was all geared towards Sundance. And we didn't get in. And it was really, heartbreaking. Because we didn't get into Sundance, we weren't going to get into any festival, and the sound guy was going to have been right, that nobody's going to see our movie. But, we were depressed for a couple of hours, and then you just pick yourself up, and you keep going. And we eventually did sell the movie, and it became a huge hit, and it launched my career. But there were some really dark days, leading up to that, and there were just a lot of moments along the process of Swingers where I basically quit. And then I sort of thought better about it and got back in the trenches. And there was, 2 months before we started shooting the movie, there was a deal that couldn't be made. Someone was asking me to do something outrageous that wasn't fair and wasn't right, and I walked away from it. And somebody came up to me and said, you know, you should just go make this movie. Just forget about what's right and what's proper. Like, go back, you know, because someone was asking for too much money. We didn't really have it. And they said, just pay them the money and find it out of somewhere else, but just go make the movie. But that was a moment where I quit. After we got into Sundance, there was a moment of us giving up. There were, you know, probably 24 moments during the course of making that film where I was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. And, you know, and that never stops. My latest film, which is out right now, called Fair Game, that's about the run-up to the war in Iraq, and it follows a spy named Valerie Plame who was outed by the Bush administration. And it's not a popular topic of film to go make, because it's about recent history.